Good evening. I'd like to call a meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Supervisor Fountain?
Here.
Treasurer Horning?
Here.
Clerk Chofiu? Here. Trustee Colliane? Absent. Trustee Germain?
Here.
Trustee Harper?
Here.
Trustee Petrucci? Here.
Thank you. Item number 4 is approval of our meeting agenda.
So moved.
Support. Motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Germain. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Good evening, Joe.
Hey. Sorry,
That's right. We just
saw
need,
your wife outside.
I need to have you do a quick signature. We have a special guest with us this evening. Noah, is it Kaiser? Kasser? No. Why don't you, if you'd like to come forward here. We have a proclamation this evening, and Noah is honored to be an Eagle Scout. And again, on behalf of the board, congratulations. I know it's an awful lot of work. And Trustee Kalani, not to put you on the spot, but I would like to, for the record, to have Trustee Kalani read your proclamation, and then we'll all step over to the side and get our picture taken on this honorable night for you. Thank you.
Well, this is a proclamation, and whereas Noah Kasser, a member of Boy Scout Troop 380, has completed the requirements and was examined by the Eagle Scout Board of Review, which found him worthy of the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest rank in the Boy Scouts of America. And whereas the Eagle Scout Award has been awarded to young men for more than 100 years, and only 5% of men who were Boy Scouts have earned the award. Whereas the Hartland Township Board of Trustees wishes to recognize Noah Kasser for his personal achievements in creating a story walk in Epley Park and for his service as an inspiration to Scouts who will follow suit. Now, therefore, we, Hartland Township Board of Trustees, do hereby acknowledge and proclaim the achievement of Noah Kasser as Boy Scouts of America Eagle Scout. In witness whereof, we have set our hands hereto on the 7th day of March 2017.
Congratulations, and again, board, if you'd like to step to the side. And so, Noah, how many years did it take? Sixth grade. I so you were Boy Scouts.
Mom first. Okay, now everyone look at me. Move in just a little bit. I'm going to take a couple, so everyone just freeze that smile and don't blink. Thought I was joking, right? Just freeze. Last one. Thank you.
All right. Look forward to good things in the future. Thanks for doing that project. Thank you, Joe, for reading that on behalf of the board. Other call to the public this evening? Mr. Cartwright?
Yeah. My name's Donald Cartwright. I live at 3510 Washington Street, Hartland, Michigan. And I would like the board to reconsider the zoning of Outlot A on Maxfield Lake Road. I've come up with some more information. I found the drain at Forest Brook, and it's very deep. It looks like it's been engineered to accept any water from any sock. I would like to at least be able to get an engineering firm in there and see if it will drain.
So what I just had some information come this afternoon, and Don came to call to the public. We won't have any discussion this evening. Don knows that. I just want to let the board know that he's considering to reapply. I'm not exactly sure what the process is. We did deny the last application that he had applied for. But again, if there's more information, I think we'll go to protocol, maybe go back to staff for consideration, or how if he wants to proceed at this point, what would be the process? Because this doesn't, just so you know, Don, this doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So.
Generally, I'd say if it's within a year's time frame of the board's last decision, I guess I would ask if the board would grant leave to reapply. I mean, otherwise, I think the board's made its decision. I don't know. What I didn't necessarily hear is that the drainage issue was the sole reasoning for that decision. So I'd be looking for a successful motion from the board to entertain reconsidering that application. So that otherwise you've rendered your decision. You've had, I think, the knowledge that there was a drain there and that, potentially drainage could be engineered was on the record. So.
Yeah, and part of the motion, the drainage is not even one of the points in the motion. There's 4 points.
Yeah, I think that we're talking about a plat, and because it's a plat, I know that I seem to recall that lot 1 was actually removed from the plat through a replatting process. That replatting process is a legal proceeding, and I think that if you're going to do anything, you might want to consult someone regarding that process, because I think that the majority of the board held that the outlot was an outlot within a platted subdivision. To change the plat and no longer keep it as an outlot requires perhaps a replatting of the subdivision. I'm not recommending you do that. I'm just saying that you might want to consult someone regarding that, because I think the board's decision, or at least the majority of the board's decision at the time, was that the outlot B was an outlot, and under the law that we read today indicates outlot B is a non-buildable lot. So if you're going to proceed in any fashion, you might want to consult someone regarding how you might be able to address replatting of that plat, and there's a process for going through that. It's kind of a long process, I would tell you, but it's not insurmountable. I can't say one way or the other how that outcome would come about, but I would hate for you to go through the process of spending dollars on a consultant only to not get anywhere because someone didn't tell you, maybe I should consider a replat. It's called amending or modifying or revising the plat. Those are all kind of interchangeable, because this is a platted subdivision. It's not open land. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out.
Well, I'm looking for direction for the board at this point. Would anybody change their vote from last time to open this up? If he does go forward and gets an amended plat, then we would treat it as a site plan?
Well, it would. I don't know what the outcome of that would go through, because it is a legal proceeding through the courts, and all through it requires sign off from the state of Michigan. There's a whole process that you have to go through. There may even be some sign offs. I'm going off memory of the township, but usually it's sort of one of those chicken and egg kind of things too. It's like, okay, if you get everybody's approval to remove that from the plat and preserve whatever needs to be preserved. And I know in that proceeding, the drain commissioner gets served, the county clerk, I think, gets served,
Register of deeds.
the register of deeds. There's several county officials are involved in that replatting process.
Well, the other lot owners would have to sign off on that.
They would have to sign off, or it would go to a legal proceeding.
Okay.
So they would have the right, have a judge could make the decision and saying,
Yeah.
I see no reason if he's doing X, Y, and Z to remove that or revise the plat from an outlet to a buildable lot. So a judge can make that decision over the objections of even the property owners. That doesn't mean that he will. Or
Either one of those are the toughest obstacle.
Right. It requires notice of all property or everyone within the plat, and also I think within 350 feet or some, whatever that number is.
So, Donna, if you're following along, there's a process that would, sounds to me as the board is speaking, would need to have it be approved as a lot within the.
Well,
I mean,
I understood from the last time we looked at this that many felt that Outlot B, as it's been platted, the problem was the majority of the board was that many of the people who bought into that plat observed that plat had an Outlot B, and that was Outlot B? Excuse me, Outlot A. Outlot A, and understood it to be a non-buildable lot. That was, I think, the majority of the board. And then the secondary issues were the drainage, because it looked like there was a platted drain that went to that lot, and we weren't all concerned with where that water went if this lot were to be built on. It's a significant size lot. It's over 2 acres, right? If I remember correctly. 1.96, so not quite 2 acres. It's a significant lot, but it's listed as an outlot, which under the law, and I understand we have legal opinions that may differ as to when that was platted versus when the law was changed. The law, as it's written today, says that outlots are non-buildable lots, and that's what this is. It should never have been identified as a buildable lot. That doesn't mean it can't be changed, but this isn't the body necessarily who can do that, make that change, in my opinion. I'm only one person, so.
And an attorney.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I've done over the years, I've probably been involved in 50 different plat revisions, and that's probably the procedure you got to follow. But I would recommend you talk to an attorney on it, a land use attorney. Tell them what you want to do and what the issues are, and they should be able to help you.
But I would add to that, not to subtract from what you said, but knowing what we know from the last meeting, that this lot was probably designed to take road runoff, and I can't remember the name of the road, Maxfield, is that what it is? Then having an engineer that says it's not retaining water that it should receive or does receive, and that there is an exit for that water to leave the site, which we looked at that drain system that other subdivision put in. I think that would be in your favor. But I think I would agree with Joe that it'd probably be wise to go to that other step first and then spend money on an engineer and doing surveys and all that kind of stuff later.
And assuming you're successful, it takes away the whole issue altogether. You understand what I'm saying? It would take, if you get a replat approved, and it looks like to me there was a previous replat on this. I think one of the lots was removed from the plat,
and it went to the new subdivision.
So it's not like this subdivision hasn't been affected before by a replat or a revision. So, and there is a website you can go on to, I think, that you can look at the state. It shows all the different plats and the revisions to the plats and the orders associated with that. So that would be my comment.
Okay. Any other comments that call to the public tonight? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else to call to the public this evening? Being none, we'll move on to item number 6, which is approval of our consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Trustee Petrucci, second by Trustee Harper. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 7A is pending and new business. Manager Wickman, this is the first one, is Bullard Road Improvements, Phase 2.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The board previously approved up to $12,000 to help with the tree clearing of the stretch of Bullard Road between Clyde and Reed. If you're familiar, that's a pretty narrow, winding road, as many of them out there are. We thought it'd be a slow-going project, but the residents have responded quite positively to it, and the Road Commission's well ahead of where they thought they'd be on clearing trees, and they want to take advantage of that to do a little more work out there with drainage improvements, replacing all the culverts, putting down a good layer of gravel, and would like to, if we can match the funds to make that happen. That would be another $35,000 on top of what we've committed the 12 for, and we have the funds available within the road millage fund. A good bang for the buck, if you will. Anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for your time tonight, but I wanted to bring to the attention that there is no contract for this agreement at this point in time. What I'm requesting is that permission to act on behalf of the Township Board to enter into an agreement with the actual vendors. What we're looking to do is split the cost, and if it comes out equitable, to simply purchase the road gravel directly from the aggregate company and pay the tree contractor directly to avoid having to go through the Livingston County Road Commission. What we're trying to do right now is negotiate the road gravel pricing. If we act now, we can add it on to the 2017 Livingston County Road Commission, their quantity pricing that they bid out. They don't have those bids back yet, so we don't have an exact dollar amount. On the high side would be the $35,000. So what I would request is a not to exceed amount of $35,000. And again, I would be essentially overseeing the project, and I could essentially correlate the load tickets and pay the aggregate contractor and the tree contractor directly through the township versus the road commission.
And the road commission is okay with all that? I mean, you've talked to them?
Yes, and basically what they're looking for, I said I would bring it forward tonight. It's a little time sensitive to get into this bid. They said even if you can get buy-in this evening, there may be a possibility to present it before we have to actually purchase. I can certainly brief the board, and I'll forward the final cost prior to executing any contracts or anything of that nature.
I've already heard some good comments at the tax counter when people were paying about what's already happened out there with the trees. So I make a motion to approve the Bullard Road Phase 2 improvement project with Livingston County Road Commission in the amount not to exceed $35,000.
Support.
And motion by Treasurer Horning, second by Trustee Kalani. Any discussion?
I have a question. The Bullard Road improvements we're discussing north of Hibner Road and south of Reed Road?
Clyde and Reed.
Clyde to Reed,
Clyde.
yeah.
That was not in the original township-approved road millage package. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay. So how did the township get involved with tree removal to the tune of $12,000 initially?
The Livingston County Road Commission approaches the Public Works Department multiple times a year just with opportunities for cost sharing. Historically, we just haven't had the funding to be able to act on many of these opportunities. They had secured some buy-in from the residents for the tree removal, which historically the residents have been somewhat resistant to removing the trees so the road can be widened a little bit and taking the banks down. The banks are built up and it's out of the right-of-way. So they figured that they would approach us because they were getting some buy-in from the residents. They anticipated the tree removal to take much longer. They figured well into the summer, and that we may revisit Phase 2 next year or perhaps this fall. As the trees are coming down, residents are just there's overwhelming support from the residents to continue with the project, so therefore they've approached us with this, and it's not unusual. In my short 5 years here, I've been approached multiple times by the Road Commission prior to the millage. So this is one of the first ones since the millage passed. They've been very busy with the road projects that we have identified.
So what's prohibiting all of the residents on Dunham Road east of Benton Road to having that road widened?
I'm sure the township would entertain it if we could get a 50 cent on the dollar value for that, some way, shape, or form. In this particular instance, this section of roadway has been on the radar. It is deemed one of the more dangerous roads that they have as far as safety and potholing and lack of drainage. So I can't speak on behalf of the Dunham Road conditions. I don't believe that's on their particular radar as a project that they would like to prioritize.
Well, the advantage of Dunham Road is it's a straight road, whereas this other one is very curvy. My concern is that it seems like the Road Commission just sees the township as a cash cow and is willing to, approach us, and we're just willing to pass out the money left and right. So I'm concerned, number one, that we don't have anything in writing, that we're approving a budget, and sure, we're capping it, but what if the project can't be done properly for the amount of money that's been requested? So, I'm kind of torn on this because I realize there should be improvements made there, but I thought that's why we pay taxes as county residents to have these types of things taken care of. You probably don't have an answer for that because it really wasn't a question.
No, I'll touch on it briefly. Obviously, Michigan's road funding system is broken. It doesn't work well. I would not. I don't think it's correct to quantify it as they're asking for money left and right. This is a unique opportunity, and quite frankly, the trees will get removed even if the township didn't participate. We just wouldn't have as many trees, and we wouldn't have as many the proposed road improvements being completed. Again, this is the first opportunity that we've been approached with since the road millage was passed, but prior to the road millage, we would probably get 2 to 3 opportunities proposed to us. So this is not unusual. Other communities get the same proposed opportunities, and I'm sure if we pass on this deal, they'll probably entertain another opportunity with another community.
And I would add to that, certainly, I think we've experienced the benefit of that partnership with the Road Commission since the millage. That some of these, because even in the case of Clyde Road, there was kind of a new scope of project that we were able to leverage there and do a good partnership. I think it's accurate to say that conditions like Bullard Road or Dunham east of Fenton, that there are places like that all throughout the township and the county where some TLC is well deserved. The funding is not there to do all of those things, and so we could take advantage of the opportunity. I think the benefit in this case is that I think the traffic counts are much higher than many of the other instances that we wish could get fixed because that serves Lake Tyrone area. That's quite a bit. What's going up there, and it's not in the case of like Dunham Road east of Fenton. You've got some major grades there to deal with that if they were to imagine widening that would be a lot more expensive of an endeavor. Certainly it's the privilege of the board to pick and choose these as you see fit.
Well, the other concern that I have is that, as far as I know, and I did email you about this today, and thanks for responding, but all of the other township roads that we've spent money on have been done really, really nicely. They've gone in and really improved the drainage, and to the point that, whether we're putting down limestone or asphalt, we know we've got a good return on that investment in terms of the longevity of the road. And for the amount of money you're talking about, I can't see how they're going to make that big of improvements. Removing the trees is going to help with the visibility, which is a vast improvement. But that road, that portion of Bullard Road that we're talking about, has such poor drainage, virtually none right now, and that's why it gets so rough and full of potholes. So I don't know, I'm not comfortable authorizing township funds for this project without knowing to the extent of what the road commission is aiming to do. So that's why I had asked earlier if we had anything in writing or design on what their intent was. If it's a Band-Aid, then, is it a good use of township funds?
Certainly understandable and very valid points. A little bit of a unique circumstance, I guess, in this particular instance. I'm requesting that the township board hold me accountable. I would not do anything to jeopardize the value of the road improvements for our road millage funds. However, I'll certainly, we can certainly revisit it with a expanded scope, a detailed scope, as well as a contract if that would make you feel more comfortable.
And I think we've had that issue before, and even when the road commission gives us an agreement, it's pretty vague. It doesn't go to the detail of scope, and so there is a little bit of trust we've had to exercise. This project reminds me of the Bergen Road project where we reconditioned the existing limestone and put some drainage improvements in. There was no scope to that. There was no engineering done, but some field engineering, if you will, about and putting a certain amount to it, and that was for over a mile. This is a half-mile stretch. Our $47,000 is being matched by Livingston County's equivalent to try to do what you can, most bang for your buck with that money, and it's not, we can't say that it's been engineered or that the water is going to behave perfectly.
Is the county going to be doing the work?
I think I've been down that road, and we're putting investments in Reed Road that's just north of there. Getting this sort of cleared and cleaned up a little bit along there, I think, is important to the investment we're putting on Reed Road. I mean, it gives I think it gives more people are going to utilize that fuller access down, coming south as opposed to necessarily going and using the road. I mean, it gives them another access.
Well, we also spend a lot of money updating Clyde Road too, so
right. That's true.
Connect on both ends.
Right. So anyway, I'm in favor of this. I think it's a good.
We have a motion to support. Is there any other discussion? The board. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next item. You keep just stay there for a little while tonight, Mr. West. Water treatment plant filtration engineering.
And again, thank you. What you have before you is a proposal from HRC for our, basically we're looking to engineer a method by which uses biological treatment for our filters. There's an opportunity here to, rather than expand the water treatment plant, but rather than expand it, but modify the existing filtration vessels with biological treatment, where we can gain the capacity equivalent to, on the low side, a conservative side would be equivalent to 6 filter vessels, which is what that plant was originally designed for with the actual expansion of the building itself. It's a fairly new technology, and by new I mean within the last 5 or 10 years. But we, Public Works, visited Waterford Township, who uses multiple different forms of iron removal treatment, and this hands down was their favorite and most efficient and effective means of removing iron. And we also visited Lyon Township, which is run by Oakland County Water Resource Commission, and similar results there. It will require an additional pilot study, but what I want to make very clear is this is not a media pilot study. This is the pilot study for the biological treatment itself in conjunction with the media. Even if we were to start this from scratch, we would have to do 2 separate pilot studies. What the DEQ is looking for is the effectiveness of the media by itself as well as the biological treatment. So what we're looking to do here is essentially maximize our return. We know that our water treatment plant, right now, the weakest link is the iron removal and filtration. We want to seek out all possibilities. This appears to be the most promising as far as the output for dollar input in the project. So I'm making a recommendation to the Township Board that we move forward with this, with HRC performing the engineering for this new method for iron removal.
Is there any construction involved?
Not for right now. What they're working to do is work with the biological company. They've already come out and performed a site visit of our plant, given us some preliminary details, but they think it's very feasible. In fact, they will have a guarantee as far as what the filtration rate will be before they actually complete the install through the pilot study. It will be approved by DEQ. But we are looking, currently we're at 3 gallons per cubic foot per second. That's our filtration rate. Waterford actually is rated at 19, I believe, and their pilot study actually peaked at 26. So that's a very substantial increase. Right now, just the media alone will get us from 3 to 4. The limiting factor at our existing plant is the current interior piping. It's smaller diameter than what they would desire, but even with the smallest diameter, without upgrading that pipe, they believe that they can get us 10 to 12, which is going to be pretty substantial from 3.
What I'm really getting at is, okay, this is a proposal for $100,000, and there's 6 tasks associated with that. One of them is, at the end, is construction engineering of $32,000. What is the construction?
I'm sorry. Yes, this is the complete engineering for this project.
Right.
This is not something that we would be able to oversee. DEQ is going to basically watch over the program. But the construction process is to basically remove the existing media, and then they'll have to inspect the tanks. Those tanks haven't been opened since they were put in. They will do a tank inspection, we'll clean and scour them, and then to install the new media. So as far as construction, it's more the transfer and then hauling off of the old media.
Okay, and I understand that. Is there a construction contractor going to be involved in some work? Is there like I see construction this all looks like engineering work and design. Is there actual construction work going to be done?
Yes.
It's $525,000 for construction.
$525,000 the next year isn't tied to this. That's if you had to go to another
filter.
No, and that's the thing. Both technologies, the technology with the biological is expected to be, I don't want to get excited, but anywhere from $400,000 to $525,000. I erred on the side of caution for that. They believe, based on a preliminary site visit, that without upgrading the pipe, which would be a substantial cost, that we can certainly save some additional funding with that by keeping the existing pipe. But yes, this project is pretty much equivalent as far as cost, all things considered, to adding a third filter vessel.
Can you explain maybe what would be involved? What would be built there?
Basically what they have to do is it's an air compressor system, and they'll actually aerate the filter vessels in layman's terms. And it creates a biological bacteria that eats the iron, and essentially that gets flushed out. The iron gets flushed out on the backwash process. It's much more efficient. It does a faster job, and that's where you get the increased filtration rate.
It's hard for me to believe that if the technology's here, that we'd have to spend $100,000. Either it works or it doesn't work. That's just. I don't want to preface it that
the pilot study is just a part of this. It is not what the $100,000 is. That's for HRC to oversee the whole project, design the bid specifications, design the compressor sizing, and size the pipe accordingly, put it out to bid, award the bid, and then do the construction at observation as well. That's a complete package, what you have in front of you. That is not just to find out if this works.
So that's not where I was going, though, but I was along the same lines. If it's worked in Waterford, and it's working in Lyon Township, and it sounds like it's going to work here, Why do we need to do it? Is it part of our permitting that we have to do the pilot study?
Yes. DEQ requires a pilot study regardless of any change in your filter, whether it be media. All the raw waters are different in the different sources, so that's what's making this require the pilot study.
It's a lot of money, $100,000. What would be the engineering cost if we were to do a third filter?
Probably pretty close to the same.
The engineering cost would be the same?
Yeah. And the filter vessel itself would be in the between $500,000 and $600,000. So it's apples to apples as far as cost is concerned. The advantage with this particular system is we'll get a much higher rating. Instead of going from 3 to 4, we could potentially go from 3 to 10, which will eliminate the need for future filter vessels for a long time.
So it's a $100,000 roll of the dice.
No, it's not saying a roll of the dice.
If it doesn't work,
well, you would know that after spending the $10,000 or whatever's outlined in the proposal there for the study.
The pilot study.
Yeah.
The pilot's the first step.
They call it a biological analysis. In that,
why wouldn't we just be approving tonight the pilot study?
we can do that.
Because then you know you're going to do it or not do it.
We can do that.
I'm trying to understand the reason of having the other $90,000 in here at this point. Because you have to do that regardless if you do it this way or another filter vessel?
Essentially, and we will have HRC perform it. It's originally what we were trying to do was have them determine which method would be quicker or the most efficient value. So HRC is going to do the engineering on this one way or another. We need increased filtration. So it's either going to be the third filter vessel or the addition of all this aeration system, the biological aeration.
If we know the thing's going to work, you spend $10,000, then you engineer it for that.
Correct.
Because you wouldn't mess around with the other stuff. So it just seems cleaner to me to make that decision to begin with.
Sure. And we can come back for the other 90.
But I must be missing something.
Whether it works or not, you're going to spend the other 90.
Do you have a copy of the proposal in front of you?
I do not.
Okay. Do you want to come look at my computer real quick?
Just as a quick point of reference, I use the general rule, a project of this size and scope of dollar amount, we usually use a 10% construction, design engineering, 10% construction engineering, which is basically exactly what this is, $500,000 improvement, 20% engineering cost is pretty standard.
Matt, did you have your answer to your question?
I did.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify with Bob that the work that would need to be approved tonight is not $10,000, but $20,000. In order for them to do the technology review, equipment and setup, and the biological treatment, observation, and basis of design report. Those first 2 tasks out of 6 that are in HRC's proposal total to $20,000.
Yes.
Do you want to make the motion, since you have it right there, the wording?
Okay. We'd like to make a motion that we approve the HRC proposal for engineering of the water plant filter improvements in amount not to exceed $20,000 to complete task 1 and 2 of their proposal dated February 28th, 2017.
I'll support that.
A motion by Trustee Germain, second by Trustee Colaney. Is there any other discussion?
Quite a question. Will this delay the project?
I don't believe it'll delay it.
I mean, are we not having an issue with the DEQ right now with the capacity of our filter?
We are.
And we were planning to address part of that with replacing the filter media.
Yes.
And what was that cost that we're not doing now?
No. We're still going to do that. New media is required. This is an addition to the new media where we can get the increased rate. If this is approved by DEQ, it eliminates the need for the third filter, but we will still have to move forward with the media replacement in the existing 2. That's dated. We're taxed on that.
Yeah, the new media itself was over 100,000. How much do you remember?
Rough and dirty, I think it was 112 to 130 was what the new media in the existing 2 filters.
So that's within that 525 scenario is the media as well.
Okay, so before you updated your cash flow and the increased filter capacity of 525, what was that number before for a third vessel?
We had 500,000, but that 500,000 number was creeping up because that number dates back to 2009, and we've continued to. The most recent quote we had revised came back at 600,000.
Yeah.
So there's no two ways to split it. HRC will do the engineering as our township engineer, if they still are a township engineer at that time. It's just a matter of DEQ will require oversight of it, and it needs to be approved. So, no, I don't think it's going to cause any delay. But one way or another, we're either going to add a third filter vessel, or we're going to have to do, if the air injection passes, we're going to have to do the media and air injection. The media is being replaced no matter what. Our media is near the end of its useful lifespan. Whether we have the third filter or modify our existing two, we're just going to modify them with new media and the biological air injection.
Can you transform the existing ones into the new biological?
That's what they're trying to do right now, yes. And we would put the new media in. The construction portion would be to put the diffusers into, basically air lines into the filter, and then we would have to purchase a compressor. It's actually 2 compressors because they require a redundant system anytime you deal with water. So we already have the compressor room down there because we have air-actuated valves. Our plant, ironically, is set up where we could do that relatively inexpensive, I guess, and I use that term loosely because none of this is inexpensive, but comparable would probably be the better word, comparable to the addition of a third filter vessel, or it might be slightly less. The biggest value is going to be it's going to take us from a 3 to a 12 versus 3 to a 4.
Right.
If we add the third filter vessel and we keep expanding in our development, we'll be back at this table doing the same thing probably within 5 or 10 years for a 4th filter vessel.
Okay. Any other questions?
Lastly, a third vessel, does that increase your filtration capacity to what you're showing with the bacterial one? Would you get to 6.0?
The third filter vessel, based on the media, would just be approved. It would be from 3 to 4 as well. So we would have 3 filter vessels, each rated at a 4, where we have the potential to take the existing 2 and get 12 out of each of those. And that's what we're targeting.
With the biological?
Yeah. Which the footprint itself, our plant's a little cramped. If we start getting the 3rd and 4th filter vessel, we're going to be cramped down. So this actually, it's a much smaller footprint as well.
Any other questions tonight?
No, I just say I'm in full support of this. I think it's the right thing to do.
I think we already had a motion and a support. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution, 2001 water bond refunding.
I'd move to approve the resolution to authorize the refunding of the 2001 water bonds.
Support.
Motion.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, I got
Better get someone else to do that.
You're retracting.
Where's my support? Well, I should go on record. Our bond counsel, John Axe, used to be with the firm of Axe and Eklund, was basically acquired by our firm, the firm I work for, Clark Hill. John Axe has been our bond counsel for a number of years now. And I've since started working for Clark Hill in 2015. So
You're going to recuse yourself?
I don't have to recuse myself under the law,
Okay.
but
Just feel more comfortable.
I just feel more comfortable just making that disclosure that he is handling the refunding and the refinancing of this bond, and I have no involvement in this matter at all, other than I'm on the township board. So,
Okay. Any other discussion?
We need another second.
support?
we do need a support because I accidentally
I will support.
I'll have support by Trustee Harper. She jumped it. And Susan, on the benefit of everybody at home watching tonight, having a snack, could you briefly explain to them the purpose of the refund or the did I say the right word? Yeah, the water bond refund.
You did. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Hope everyone at home is enjoying their snack.
Move the mic a little closer to you.
Oh, okay.
Please.
We've got this opportunity to go ahead and refund these bonds. There's only 5 years left of bond payments. We have over $900,000 sitting in cash from early payoffs on the water SAD. And obviously we're not earning as much interest on those cash deposits versus what we're paying out. So this is an opportunity for us here in the last part of the 5 years to go ahead and call those bonds and refund them at a lower rate and enjoy some savings on those which will help offset basically the interest losses we've taken from the lower interest earnings on the cash.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comments from the board?
I think that it would be important for the public to understand that the net savings, best case scenario, I think is $173,000.
That's correct.
$262.50 by undertaking this refinance.
That's true.
And the savings is not large enough to restructure what all the people have been paying. Is that correct? They're not going to get a refund at the end of the...
No. Well, we will do an analysis with John Axon, our municipal finance consultant. We'll do an analysis at the end to see where we come up, what the surplus is. If it's over 5% of the original special assessment, then there would be a refund. But we have to do a calculation first on the loss on interest earnings.
But even if they don't get a refund, the savings goes right back into the water system.
Right.
So
that
it's
is correct.
Keeping their costs down.
That is correct.
Paying for that water filter we just made.
Yeah.
Some of that special medium they've been talking about.
Yeah.
Still got to find out where they get that sand. Any other discussions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Trustee Petrucci? Yes. Supervisor Fountain?
Yes.
Clerk Schofield, yes. Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Okay, and then item number D is another resolution.
Now, this relates to the bond refunding. So normally when we do, when we go out for bonds, typically we do the continuation disclosure, maybe a meeting or two after we've approved the bond resolution. We're going to do it tonight so that we've got that piece of it all done.
So I'll entertain a motion for the resolution approving undertaking to provide continuing disclosure by the Township of Hartland.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Trustee Harper, second by Trustee Kalani.
Just
Is
to
there
be
any
clear,
discussion?
This is a resolution, right?
Yes.
Not a motion?
Right.
Yep. Any discussion? Being none, I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Trustee Collier?
Yes.
Trustee Petrucci? Yes. Treasurer Horning?
Yes.
Clerk Schofield, yes. Trustee Germain?
Yes.
Trustee Harper?
Yes.
Supervisor Fountain?
Yes. Thank you. Number 8 is board reports, and we are in our first meeting in March already. Trustee Harper.
No report.
Trustee Petrucci.
No report.
Clerk Schofu.
No report.
Treasurer Horning.
When Hartland said that they would increase the senior center contribution, Supervisor Fountain asked that we would go ahead and ask the other townships for an increase too, and what a great idea that was, because Osceola came through with another 10%. Tyrone said their budget was already done, but they did add 3% with the thought that they will increase it next year more. And Brighton Township meeting was last night with their board, and they asked for some other statistics and things, but it looks very favorable that we're going to get something from Brighton also. So thanks for that suggestion
Yeah.
or recommendation.
Thanks to those communities for assisting.
Right.
Trustee Kalani?
No report.
Trustee Germain?
I would just like to provide a brief update to the public on the ongoing hydrogeological investigation at the former Hartland 36 gas processing plant. The responsible party is Merit Energy Company, and their consultant, ECT, from Traverse City, prepared and presented another work plan to continue the investigation to MDEQ last week on Thursday. The MDEQ approved the work plan on the same day. Let's start with the table, please, James. The lab reports, can you make that like 900 times bigger? That's good. What this is showing is all of the monitoring wells that are at the site currently and when they were sampled. So you can see, and it starts all the way back in October of 2015 when the plant demolition was occurring. The initial 7 wells that were installed were all shallow, and they all came back clean. And for the most part, that is still true for those where they're screened. As you move across this table to the right, you'll see there's more and more analytical tests that have been completed, and everything that's highlighted in yellow is a result that exceeds the current MDEQ cleanup criteria, which is an interim value of 90 parts per billion. The chemical of concern here, in case you don't recall, is sulfolane. As more and more wells have been installed, the more recent wells have been screened at and right above the clay confining layer. And the reason that has been done is because sulfolane is heavier than water and it's sinking in the water table. As more wells have been installed across the site, the number of wells that are coming back above that cleanup criteria is growing. So if you want to flip to the aerial photograph and try to make that larger if you can, get rid of all the white on the right. Okay, that's pretty good. The groundwater flow direction, when we just look at the shallow wells, as has been reported numerous times, has always been toward the northeast. But when you subtract those from the triangulation that's done to determine groundwater flow direction and only look at the deep wells, the groundwater flow direction is to the southwest, which is very much aligns with the natural terrain of the property in this field. So all of the monitoring wells that have been installed that have the deep screens, more and more of those have been clustered in the center and on the southwest portion of the site. And there is one well, which is number 15, which is right there. That was originally a shallow well that came back clean, but when they put in a deep well right next to it, it came back fairly high. It's like 4,600 parts per billion. So the work plan that MDEQ has already approved is to install 3 additional monitoring wells, and they're all still within the 5-acre original parcel, but they're along the western, southern, and in the extreme southwest corner. So these well installation actually started today, and those new wells plus the normal quarterly groundwater sampling event is all scheduled for the 14th and 15th of this month. So right around the 1st of April, we'll have a lot better idea on how things continue to trend and whether or not it's moved off of the original 5-acre parcel. It's important to note, though, that the 5-acre parcel that was leased by the gas processing company is part of a much larger 100-plus acre farm. So even at the rate that it's moving, it's very unlikely that it's impacting any residences or or even gone probably more than a couple hundred feet from where it is known right now, just based on the concentrations alone. So, any questions?
I have a couple.
Please.
Did they do? You mentioned that early on it looked like the at the shallower level it was moving the groundwater flow would go towards the east. Did they undertake some deep wells along the property line to the east to make sure that there's nothing going in that direction?
Yes, they have.
Okay, and then those all have indicated a negative?
Correct. Yeah, everything is delineated to the west, north, and east, both shallow and deep. The only unknown, so to speak, would be in that southwest corner.
And to the extent that they've identified areas which have indicated high levels of suckling on the western part of the 5-acre parcel, what's the plan for addressing the chemical contamination? Is there a treatment plan or proposed?
Yes, the Merit has already submitted a work plan that was approved to MDEQ to complete pilot studies on 3 different technologies at the site. That work has been delayed until they get a handle on the extent of the contamination, so that, because depending on how many million gallons of contaminated water there is, it's going to be more expensive or less expensive on these other, when they're evaluating the different techniques. So I would expect that in springtime, Merit's going to start doing some of their pilot testing to come up with what their preferred option would be.
Oh, I do have one other question. Early on in this process, the DEQ was looking at the cleanup criteria for suckling. Has there been any progress that you know of in determining what the cleanup criteria will be?
There's been nothing officially published yet. All of the Part 201 chemicals and contaminants are being reviewed, and sulfoling has been added to that list, and DEQ intends to publish all of the changes at the same time. I've been told by MDEQ staff and the know that the cleanup concentration is going to be much, much smaller than it is right now. And that's primarily because sulfolane has a much bigger impact if it's ingested on small children than it does on adults. So erring on the side of conservative, they want to keep that number quite low. But nobody knows what that number will be, whether it's going to be 15 or 25, but it's going to be substantially less than the 90 that it is right now.
The 90 is one that is not been published, though, the 90 parts per billion, correct?
It's not published, but that's the interim number that
they, okay. Which, if my memory serves me, that's the cleanup criteria that Canada has used and some other states, correct?
Correct. And actually, I believe that there's one other sulfolane contaminated site in Michigan that Merit Energy is also responsible for, so DEQ is holding them that number. They're requiring cleanup to that value right now at both of those sites. If there are no further questions on that.
Pat, are the homeowners in the area being updated on this continually?
I would say yes, but maybe not to the extent that could happen. They're being updated by both Highland Township and Hartland Township receiving direct emails from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality with the anticipation that we share that information with the public, much like we're doing this evening. I think Hartland Township also actually posts these documents, this map and all those things right on our website. That probably will happen within a week, you think?
Yes, both these documents, yes.
Okay.
They also go to Highland Township as well.
Correct.
We're sharing all this information with them.
I think Highland Township just links to our website, in fact, I think. But, yeah, okay.
And then I think his name is Matt Bowling, who's with the Livingston County Health Department. He's in the know. He gets copied on all these emails as well, so that's another kind of local source that people could contact if they have questions.
Matt, thank you again for keeping us informed and sharing that information with us.
Okay, I have two more things if I can. Like Joe, I do a lot of work for municipalities, so I wanted to pass this along. I think we have an opportunity with the new communications person starting that we could improve our township website, especially in regards to the Board of Trustees. This is an example of what's currently done in the city of Wixom. You can just take one, pass it on.
Yeah, I'll take the one with the coffee.
Coffee.
They all have them. I think that I know when I'm in the public, I frequently get questioned by people I don't even know, but somehow know who I am. And I think anything that we can do to make ourselves accessible and so that they know who we are and perhaps even a little more about our backgrounds outside of our township service might be beneficial. And then the third thing I wanted to say, and it's along the same lines of communication, I think that it would be helpful with the number of township residents that frequent the building to have a small collection of photographs in the lobby that shows our pictures and our names so that they've got a little better recognition. It's just another idea I wanted to throw out. I'm trying to make us appear more professional.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which leads me to my small report tonight. I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware about a communications training that we spoke about several months ago. It might have been at one of our retreats, or I think it was at a retreat.
December retreat.
In December, about communications. And we talked about putting a proposal together. I just want to let the board know that we have that proposal in front of you tonight. I believe we've already approved it.
Well, we're waiting. The board doesn't have to approve it. Just you wanted to make them aware.
Want to make them aware. And on top of that, the first portion of this, that board members are available to come to it as well. And it's about an hour and a half. It's in your packet if you haven't seen it. But it's just talking about interactive conversation and communications with the people and with the media. It goes through exactly what Matt was just saying, that we've never really had any formal training on this type of thing, so it can only improve our effectiveness as a board to communicate with our constituents. So I just wanted to bring that up and bring your attention to that. That's all the reports I have. Anybody else have anything tonight? Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. All right. We'll take a brief recess, and then we will go to our manager's report and our information discussion.